Welcome into the very first episode of the Analyst and the Armchair, a new NFL podcast where one person is obsessed with stats and spreadsheets, and the other just really loves yelling at the TV on game day and also is very, very opinionated. Together, we dive into player news. We're going to talk about weekly matchups during the season and all the storylines you'll be talking about with your friends throughout the NFL season. Whether you're a hardcore fan or you're just figuring out what a blitz is, we have everything that you want right here. I'm Michelle Majuk. I'm in the analyst part of the show. I'm a lifelong football fan, fantasy football junkie. I'm a researcher for NFL Network, and I am a writer at PFF.
Very good. I am Nycole. I am new to podcasting and podcast life, so happy to be here. I have always been around sports my entire life. I dove into the NFL around 2020, about 5 years ago, before Taylor Swift. So if that's what any of you think, I was here first. I claim dibs. I will bring her up at any point that I have the opportunity. So just know that ahead of time. And lastly, fantasy football. I got into that a few years ago. I am the proud winner of my first fantasy league last year. And I happened to beat someone named the Analyst. So
yeah, we don't talk about that. I invited her to my league, and I lost her in the championship the very first year. If she beats me again this year, she will not be invited for year 3. But we're going to have a really, really fun episode for our first episode ever. We're going to talk through the latest news to get started, and then we're going to talk about the most overrated and underrated teams headed into the 2025 season. And then at the end, we're going to give you a really fun prediction of our Super Bowl winners. Now, I have picked this team to win like 3 straight years, and I've been wrong every time. So just a little warning there, but I have a feeling I'm going to be right this year. But let's hop into the latest NFL news. We got some quarterback news, these terrible teams that are finally figuring out who's going to be their week 1 starting quarterback. We have 2 of them that have finally made their decision. Daniel Jones will be the starting quarterback for the Colts, and Joe Flacco will be the starting quarterback for the Browns. But let's start with Daniel Jones, the Colts. Did they actually give Anthony Richardson a fair shot? Because Daniel Jones beats him out, 4th overall pick just 2 years ago. 15 starts in the league. He came into the league super, super raw out of Florida. Like, literally, that was the whole point of drafting him, is because of the upside, and they gave him no shot. So why are they starting Daniel Jones? I have no idea.
No shot? Okay. That is not true at all. The man couldn't even complete 50% of his...
Oh, no, he's bad. I'm not saying he's not bad, but Daniel Jones is not good either.
Okay, but he's like at least consistent. Like, you know what you're getting with Daniel Jones. You put Anthony Richardson
consistently
out there,
bad.
You don't know what he's going to do. Well, half the time he's not even going to complete the pass. He is not good. I think he got his fair. He got 11 games, I think.
Right now, well, so in his career, he started 15 games. That's not even a full season.
Because he wasn't good enough to play a whole season.
Okay, but these guys that get drafted that are super raw, like a Josh Allen, like a Jalen Hurts, you're taking them thinking it's going to take time. And they didn't even give him a full season.
But did they take him thinking it's going to take time?
Yeah, the dude barely played in college. It was all about upside.
That should have been their number one
indicator. Exactly. They
shouldn't
have taken him if they weren't going to be patient.
So to me, it makes sense that you go with Daniel Jones. At least you know what you're getting.
Does Daniel Jones give him 1 ounce of hope to win a playoff game?
Listen, if it was my team, I would not be excited about this being my quarterback selection. But that's who they have. I would every day of the week pick Daniel Jones over Anthony Richardson.
Listen, I want Tyler Warren to be good in fantasy, so I like that Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback, but I think it's stupid because there's only one guy that still has opportunity to be a top tier quarterback in this league, and it's not Daniel Jones. Now, both of them really have no shot, but at least Anthony Richardson has like a 2% shot, and now they have no shot. But anyways, moving on, Joe Flacco wins the job with Cleveland. They don't have anyone else. I mean, they have 1 gazillion quarterbacks on the roster, but all the guys are hurt. And it seemed like they wanted Joe Flacco to be the starter anyways. It doesn't really matter because listen to the starting schedule for the Browns. It goes Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers. It doesn't matter who their starting quarterback is. They're losing all the games, and there's going to be they're all going to play this year. They're all going to play this year.
All the quarterbacks are going to play.
Until they start Shadur Sanders, the correct quarterback, and then he will keep the job.
Listen, and this is nice tailing off of the Daniel Jones conversation. Joe Flacco, you know what you're getting. And again, I am cautiously optimistic. I like to know what I have going in. I don't want to go with confusing, or I don't know what's going to happen with, I don't even want to say his name, Watson. Terrifying, terrible, not even an option.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Sanders, who is a rookie, who, listen, should he play some games? Yes. I think, honestly, with their schedule, they might as well just one game, or, put them in different plays and different places that Sanders can shine, and places where Joe Flacco is going to give you Joe Flacco.
Listen, the Browns are just being the Browns, because at this point, again, what is Joe Flacco going to do for you? Now, he did bring him to the playoffs just 2 years ago. Maybe that happens. Maybe that wonderful ride happens. It's not going to, just so you know. But at the same time, you drafted 2 quarterbacks this year. Why? Just why? If you're going to start Joe Flacco, why waste 2 picks on a quarterback? And then you're going to end up not knowing if either of them are good by next year's draft. So then you just have to draft another guy. It's just a waste. It's
not necessarily a waste, because you give them time to see Joe in what he does, good or bad. And
then they're going to re-sign a 41-year-old quarterback.
Listen, he is 40 years old, which I'm like, I think he's the second oldest next to your favorite Steelers quarterback. Listen, I'm go with what you know, and that's just who I am. Now, is he the quarterback you're going with for the next 2 years, 3 years? No, absolutely not.
No. The Browns will be the Browns, and they're going to be terrible again. And I'm not just saying that as a Steelers fan. I really am rooting for the city of Cleveland. I want that Browns team to be good at some time, but it's not going to be anytime soon.
Listen,
they ruined their fate when they traded away my boy Baker Mayfield. Now, we have to talk about finally a good player. Matthew Stafford, back in practice for the Rams. Back injury. The dude's always hurt, but he does typically play through injuries, and he typically plays pretty well through injuries. But now he's 37 years old. I mean, this Rams team lives and dies off of Matthew Stafford. The backup is Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's just not going to work.
Well, here's my take on it, and I'm afraid to say this out loud, but I'm afraid that this is what's happening. The team, the coach, everybody's like, "Oh, he's good. He's going to be good." All this stuff. Fans are like freaking out. Like, what is happening? What are we doing here? This is a hot take, okay?
Okay.
Is this another CMC to start the season? Is this...
Don't tell me that, because I'm really liking Puka Nacua.
Well, that was your fault. Is this a cover-up of he's fine, and then come week 1, come week 2, come week 3, he's not playing?
I hope not. Now, right now, the 49ers are, for some reason, the favorite in Vegas to win the division. I think the Rams are a much better team, but I mean, clearly they know something. So, but it has been this way for a couple of months. So I don't think it has to fully do with the Stafford injury, but if Stafford can't make it all season long, the Rams are screwed, but he's back in practice. So let's just hope he can be good and make it through the season.
But I mean, other than the Super Bowl, like, what have the Rams done since?
They did win the division last year, but the division sucked. Well, I mean, the Seahawks are okay. I think their defense is super, super young. Sure. I think they have a lot of potential this year. Sure. And then they have a really good offense as long as Stafford can stay healthy.
If he even starts out healthy.
Sure.
I don't know if it's about staying healthy. It's about getting healthy.
All right. There's this week, there's 2 more pieces of news I want to get through before we get to our main topic here, talking about most overrated and underrated teams this season. But there's 2 guys on the trading block by their team. Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals and Brian Robinson Jr. for the Commanders running back. Now, with Trey Hendrickson, I don't know what the Bengals are doing. They should have paid him last year before the market blew up at the edge rusher position. But he's also like their only good defender, like, honestly. And I mean, he had nearly 50% of the team's sacks last year.
Right.
What's really, really impressive is his team ranked 25th in sacks, while Trey Hendrickson had 17 and a half sacks. He led the NFL. Like, that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Now, they did draft an edge rusher in the first round, and he has finally signed. But the dude they drafted to be an edge rusher, Shamar Stewart, had 1.5 sacks every single season in college. All 3 seasons. 1.5. Maybe he randomly becomes amazing in the NFL. But, I mean, they clearly really, really need him. I think he deserves to get paid right up there with the other guys. I think he's highly underrated in terms of like elite pass rushers. I think he's right there with Watt and Myles Garrett and Parsons, but obviously Parsons is younger, so he's easier to pay, even though the Cowboys are stupid too. But that's a different day's discussion.
Get to that later.
But what do you think the Bengals should do with Hendrickson? Pay him or trade him?
Oh, pay the man. I mean, I love defense. There's a reason this jersey's behind me. I live and die by defense. I just think like you need to pay your guys that are doing the hard work. And he has a resume for doing the work. All the stats. I love that your little stats just go with my opinions. That's my favorite thing. Their defense was 25th last year, and you're going to get rid of your one defensive guy essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that Joe Burrow, who is your face of your franchise, is begging you to pay.
So like, why? What are they gaining from going with this guy that was like, I'm a rookie and I don't want to sign my contract, right? Until a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden everybody's very excited about him. And I'm just like, why? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you doing this to the fans? Pay the man. And let's move on.
Listen, I would more likely to pay. This is going to sound crazy. I'm more likely, if I'm the Bengals, open to paying Trey Hendrickson than I would have been if I was the Browns or the Steelers paying Garrett or Watt. Because at least the Bengals are in Super Bowl contention. It makes sense to then pay. But the Steelers and Browns are not. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a Steelers fan. Obviously, you can see I grew up as a Steelers fan. I'm wearing the Steelers t-shirt. But we know exactly how their season's going to go, no matter if they paid Watt or not. They win 9 or 10 games and they get their butts kicked in the wild card.
Side note, because this is not on the topic of discussion.
Yeah.
You think the Bengals, who were terrible last year, barring a lot of things, are better off than the Steelers?
I do. I have them winning the division.
Wow.
Over the Ravens. Yeah.
Over the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder who your underrated teams.
It's not actually them, but it should have been, I guess, at this point.
Wow.
Because I don't think they're underrated. I think a lot of teams are excited.
No, I love the Bengals. That's why I have little jokes.
But they are going to have to score about 35 points a game.
Right.
Now, last up here, Brian Robinson Jr. It seems like he's definitely going to be gone. It happened all of a sudden, but all the reports are saying he's pretty much getting traded. Ian Rappaport from NFL Network says he does not expect Robinson to be on the Washington Commanders this season. So, I mean, they're going to have to find a trade partner. Unfortunately, the best trade partner in the NFL is in their division with the Cowboys. The Cowboys desperately need a running back because right now, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are embarrassing choices to have for them. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I think Brian Robinson is just a guy and he's fine. He's a fine starter. And I totally think Washington should trade him while they can. He's a free agent next year. Trade him, get whatever you can right now. They have other guys that can step in. But with the Cowboys, it's the only, that's a really missing piece there. That's their biggest weakness. They're really going to trade them to that team where it's we are making them better by trading this guy to them.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the question was, right, if he gets traded, seemingly so, where? I had Dallas, and fun enough, I wrote the Steelers because I know you like Jaylen Warren, but I don't know. I don't know. So Dallas and the Steelers were my choices for where he could/should go. But as a Commanders / Jaden Daniels fan, I am sad because I loved him and Jaden together. I thought they.
I think you're gonna be a big fan of their 7th round pick, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. I had to look at my sheet there because his last name is.
I hope so.
I cannot wait for. Well, I guess he wants to go by Bill. I don't know. That's an interesting one, but I think that he should go by JCM. So I'm going to try to start that. But they have Austin Eckler. They have Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Their 7th round pick, who's really outshining what anyone thought he was going to do, and he's doing well in training camp and preseason. I just don't. like with guys like Brian Robinson Jr., they're so easy to replace. He's not special. Trade him away. That's fine. I have one other landing spot that he could make sense for. It's the Miami Dolphins. He can be like that 1-2 punch with Devin Achane.
Okay.
Now everyone's hurt in that backfield with the Dolphins right now.
Right.
And I think that would make sense. But I think it's finally time that we get into our main discussion for today. And that's the most overrated and underrated teams heading into 2025. Nycole, I'm going to ask you first. Who is the most overrated team? Because I love to be negative, Who's the most overrated team going into the season?
I feel this way every year. So maybe it was a cop-out answer that I have. It's the Cowboys. I don't understand why we're always talking about the Cowboys. They, I think, have won the division a couple times in the last 5-ish years, or made it to the divisional round rather. And then you're in the news for not paying a man you should be paying, and or
not paying Micah Parsons is crazy.
Have already paid, and it's like, here's my thought. The Cowboys are not in the news for how good their football team is or how many games they're winning. They're in the news because their ownership likes to be in the news. Mm-hmm. So, if that's what the angle you want to take, and that's you're in the news because you just don't want to pay a man, and it's my same sentiment to the Bengals. Pay the man. He does his job. He does it very well. So, and like we were talking earlier, they don't have a running back that's of note. Dak Prescott has been meh,
I like Dacky, but I get it.
So to me, it has to be the Cowboys. Why are we always talking about the Cowboys?
I will say, I think as long as Dak Prescott stays healthy, which he's had a lot of trouble with doing, they should win about 10 games, maybe sneak into the playoffs. But I'm with you. They're always overrated, for sure. Yeah. And they don't have a running game. If they can get Brian Robinson Jr.,
sure.
Maybe there's a guy that's cut that could be better, because right now their options are terrible. I do love that they traded for George Pickens. I think that's huge for Dak.
Sure.
But yeah, their offensive line is kind of in shambles. Their defense without Parsons would be sketchy. They already were pretty sketchy last year. We've given up a lot of points and a lot of big plays. So I'm with you. I'm with you. They're always overrated. And like literally I think they have one of the longest droughts of getting to an NFC championship.
So long.
Yeah.
So long. Okay. Well, then the question is to you.
I'm going to go with the Packers, which Packers fans already don't like me among a lot of platforms. I'm not even trying to go at Packers right now. I just think they're every time I listen to anything, any media, any TV show, any podcast talking about football, talking up the Packers and how good their offense is going to be or how good this team is going to be. And I get it. Under Matt LaFleur, they win a lot of regular season games. And maybe that happens again. They won 11 games last year, but they were 1-5 in their own division because their division's really hard. I'll give them that. And then the 10-1 in the other games, but 8 of their 10 wins. Colts, Titans, Cardinals, Jaguars, 49ers without Brock Purdy. He did not start that game. Okay. Dolphins, Seahawks, Saints. They won 2 games against 2 games against NFC. 2 games against playoff opponents last year. It was the Rams. It was a 5-point win with no Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp for Matthew Stafford. Okay?
That's huge.
And then they beat the Texans, who I think we would all agree maybe would have been the worst playoff team last year. One of the worst playoff teams last year. I know they won a game. They won a game. I know you're a Texans fan. But one of the lesser competitive playoff teams.
Okay.
And it was a 2-point win.
Sure. Okay.
And in that game, the Texans had 86 passing yards.
Right.
And the Packers beat them. Right. So I'm just not impressed by any of their wins last year. And they really haven't made any changes. They added Matthew Golden. Cool. Right.
Sure,
but they lost Christian Watson pretty much for the most of this season, which I don't think Christian Watson's very good anyways. But I also didn't love Matthew Golden as a prospect. And it's wild that that's the one guy they finally take in the first round after 20 something years of not taking a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers in the first round. But then they're just not a lot of changes. I mean, they signed their big free agency signing was Aaron Banks, and I cannot tell you how bad of a guard he is. And they're so happy to have him. As a 49ers fan, also I'm a Steelers and 49ers fan. It was an addition for the 49ers to lose Aaron Banks in free agency. That is how bad he is as a player. And then they lose Jair Alexander, and I know he's been hurt a ton over the last few years, and he hasn't really been there for them. But last year I have these stats. So with him on and off the field, it was incredibly different. They allowed a 70 completion percentage without him on the field, only 61 with him on the field. The passer rating dropped by like nearly 20% when he was on the field versus off. And the passing touchdowns went up incredibly when he was off the field and percentage wise. So Alexander's a really big loss to them, and they didn't really replace him with anything. So I don't really understand why the Packers are getting so much love.
Listen, I just think you love, ironically, to hate Jordan Love.
I didn't even bring him up in here.
I know you.
How inconsistently.
And your stats are so good and so fresh and so clean. But you hate to love Christian Watson. You really do.
I do.
You love to hate Jordan Love. And like you said, they win a lot of games. They win the games that they should win. And I think that's, to their advantage. There's teams out there that lose games they should not lose. So we'll see. We'll see if our predictions are right or not for the overrated teams. But I like the Packers. I do. I hate to, but
they're in such a good division. Like, I think the Lions are still going to be so good. I think the Vikings have a chance to still be really solid. The Bears are supposed to be so much better. I don't know.
You think the Vikings are going to be? That's not on topic, but I'm intrigued.
I mean, they should be, right?
Okay. I don't know.
I don't think they should have that much of a fall off just because of Sam Darnold leaving.
That's because you love to hate Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold sucks. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. Sam Darnold's not good.
Uh-huh.
All right, we'll get nice though. I don't have to be mean anymore. Let's talk about the most underrated teams heading into 2025. Teams that we just like a lot more than what everyone's talking about right now and what their expectations are. Who's your team?
Okay, not surprisingly, the Texans. I mean,
I had a feeling you were going to go with it.
I had to, I mean, they've gotten to the divisional round the last 2 years, which
they do not get enough love for that.
For this city, y'all. I'm born and raised Houston, Texas. Lived some other places, but came back. This fan base is foaming at the mouth for some really good football, and the last few years, under D'Amico Ryans, behind CJ Stroud, we've gotten some good football. Great football, almost, right? And so, but I feel like nationally, the Texans do not get their due. The question of CJ coming off his really great rookie year to sophomore slump, if you will. I think now the pressure is almost off, right? Because, he had that great rookie season, so there was so much pressure going into his second year. So I just feel like now he can kind of settle in, right? Third year, people aren't doing comparisons and stuff of timing and things. And so I just think he's set up for success. The offseason changes, right? We hope that Joe Mixon is not hurt for too long, and he can come in. We've got Nick Chubb edition. We've got Christian Kirk edition. I would love to see him throwing the ball. Nico Collins, Kirk. Collins.
I'm really excited for
throw a Tank Dell in there, right? Like I'm excited.
And they drafted the 2 wide receivers pretty early, Jaden Higgins,
right?
Early second,
right? And then their defense. I mean, D'Amico Ryan's defense guy, right? They ranked, I think, 6th last year. Correct me, Analyst. I think they're in a good spot. So I'm really hoping, for a divisional win this year, and let's keep the train moving positively. But I think nationally, they're not getting the due that they're awarded.
They do have a really exciting young team. It all comes down to that offensive line protecting CJ Stroud and CJ Stroud bouncing back a bit, right?
Sure.
I don't think everything was on Stroud last year. It was kind of a disaster. I think Bobby Slowick needed to go. Their offense coordinator, he did not put him in good positions. I love the new additions they added in offense. Hopefully Tank Dell can get back this year after that knee injury, but he is big, but they added enough weapons without him. I don't think Joe Mixon's I do also love to hate Joe Mixon. I have a theme here, I guess, of hating certain players.
Listen, I love Nick Chubb though.
Yes.
That's my thing.
Now we'll see what he has left.
Listen,
With
my dad's a Browns fan. I've loved Chubb for a while. I was excited to see him come to Houston.
Yeah.
We'll see what he has left.
I would much rather be watching him than Joe Mixon, though. He's a lot easier to root for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But now, and then the defense, I love Derek Stingley Jr. I think he's the best corner in the league. They have some young other secondaries pieces that are exciting.
Jalen Petrie.
Love Jalen Petrie.
My favorite.
Oh, he's supposed to be on our wall. We don't have the jersey yet.
He's supposed to be on the wall. He'll be on the wall soon.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
We don't have the jersey
defense.
yet.
Defense.
We do love Jalen Petrie. No, I like the Texans a lot this year. I'm
excited.
Good. Now my team, it might not seem like they're underrated, but I feel like people are too scared to like them because every year they say they're going to be good and they kind of disappoint, right?
Okay.
Now it's the Los Angeles Chargers. They made the playoffs last year. They had a really good record at 11-6, but then they got blown out by the Texans in the wild card round. And now I feel like everyone's just like, yeah, same old Chargers. However, I do think they're going to be better. Second year under Jim Harbaugh. I think something clicked with Justin Herbert. I mean, weeks 1 through 7, they weren't allowing him to throw a ton for whatever reason, but also like he just wasn't able to throw touchdowns. He had 6 passing touchdowns through the first 7 weeks of the season. That's it. Yikes. Justin Herbert. And then, I mean, it totally clicked from weeks 8 through 18. Like Herbert was one of the best fantasy quarterbacks. Keep that in mind if you play fantasy. I love Justin Herbert in fantasy this year. And they only lost 3 games from the weeks 8 through 18. That was the last 11 games of the season. Okay. And the games they lost to were the Ravens by 3 points. Okay. That's very fair. The Chiefs by 2 points. Very fair. Okay. And then they did get demolished by the Buccaneers. But, you know, the Buccaneers offense can be great, right?
Right.
But I am actually loving all the upgrades they've made on offense. I love that they brought back Keenan Allen. I feel like that's being highly overlooked. Like, I get it. Keenan Allen's a little bit older. And with the Bears last year, he didn't have like monster production. He still scored 7 touchdowns, though, had over 700 yards. But the Bears stunk on offense.
Right.
When he was last with the Chargers, which was 1 year removed in 2023, he led the league in receptions per game. He was 4th in receiving yards per game. He had over 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns in 13 games played that year.
Wow.
Like Justin Herbert gets his man back. And then he now still has Ladd McConkey because they brought him in to take over for Keenan Allen, but now he's in his 2nd year. They added 2 more wide receivers in the draft that are both getting great hype in training camp. And it's really the guy that was drafted later in Keandre Lambert-Smith that's really balling out. And then they really upgraded their running back room. Like J.K. Dobbins is a good running back, but, you know, he's dealing with his issues with his knee. And Gus Edwards is just a dude. Marion Hampton, who they took in the first round, I think is a huge upgrade. Najee Harris, like both of these guys are like really, really good pass catching running backs too. Neither Dobbins or Gus Edwards could do that. And then they also upgraded to pass catching with Tyler Conklin. And they already had such a good defense last year, so I'm not worried about that. They're number 1 defense in the league last year. So all that put together, I think they actually beat the Chiefs to win their division this year.
Really?
I think they finally knock off the Chiefs off the little pedestal.
Okay.
I think the Chiefs still make the playoffs, but I think the Chargers win the division.
Okay. Hot take.
Yeah.
I do you think Najee Harris was a great addition?
Well, I did, and then he kind of destroyed his eye during firework incident.
Right.
You know, I don't know. But I do love that they have 2 options. And I really like Hampton coming out of college. He's a really, really good prospect. He'd be getting way more hype, but Ashton Genty was so good coming out of school that Hampton's kind of taken the back seat here, but he's a really, really good prospect. So I think this backfield overall together will be huge, and they're going to win a lot of games.
Okay. And I agree with you. On the Keenan Allen bit, I think the Bears, Caleb Williams, the whole transit, I agree with you. I think he's better suited in LA, and we'll see.
Do you have another underrated team?
Underrated, I do, and this is a wild pick. But you know, it's I'm just gonna go with it, right? I can have opinions. I don't need stats to back them up. Okay, and I know it's the same division.
It's very Texan of you. Sorry.
Okay. Same division. Mm-hmm. The Jaguars. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, sit with me here. Can Trevor Lawrence stay healthy? I think so. And here's why. They added or seem to have added some really good positions on their offensive line. I think that will keep Trevor Lawrence okay and able to throw the ball, right?
That would be great.
And so for that reason, the addition of drafting Travis Hunter from Colorado, and then Brian Thomas Jr. I think this gives them an edge to win more games. Now, I don't know the numbers because I'm not the analyst, but they lost a lot of games, okay? But if you look at it, a couple of them were, a few, maybe 3 were blowouts, okay? But a lot of them were like a score and a half-ish, right? Like they should have lost games by a lot more last year, and they didn't. So what does that tell me? They have the foundation, they have the ability to win more games this year if Trevor Lawrence is healthy, his targets are healthy, and he's good to go, right? So I think the other thing is their defense. Their defense was
real bad,
right? So if they can figure out their defensive situation, I think the Jaguars could be a conversation for a few weeks from now.
So are you worried about them in the division then for the Texans?
Here's the thing. I think they're...
If you had to place a bet on the division winner.
Well, it's definitely not the Colts. Right? No, I think the Texans have the division. I do. But I do think the Jaguars are underrated.
Okay.
For where they are. I think they're going to do much better than we think they're going to do.
I will say, at this point, Trevor Lawrence, heading into the 5th season that he's in, right. 4th or 5th season, I should know that, but at the top of my head, I don't really care right now. But he came in with such high expectations, right. And he has not met those slightly, even though he got paid all that money.
Sure.
If he gets this new head coach in Liam Cohen, who made Baker Mayfield the beast he was last year. He has all these weapons with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, right? You have 2 great wide receivers, and he still can't get it done. I think we might just have to admit that he's a big bust.
And I like that.
Yeah,
I do. But has he been set up for success in his 4/5 seasons?
4/5. I love it.
We don't know.
He was drafted in 2021.
Somebody in the comments will be like, "It's 5.
It's 4. He's heading into 5.
Okay, so like I think that's something to take into consideration, right? For someone, is have they been set up or in a position to play their best football and throw their best passes? So
yeah.
So I agree with you. I think if he stays healthy, it'll be a very telling year.
Yes. And if they can't get it done, I think we might have to just get over Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to quickly name the Lions as an underrated team. It might seem weird that the number 1 seed last year from the NFC would be underrated, but I feel like when you're looking, there are a lot of people predicting the Packers to win this NFC North division. And I think that's why I'm saying the Packers are overrated and the Lions are underrated. It's not that I think the Packers are going to be a bad team overall, but I don't think the Lions are going to fall off as much as people do. Like, 15 wins that's not going to happen again for any team, right? That's very, very rare that anyone wins 15 games back to back. Like, it has that good of a record. So yes, I think they're going to lose a couple more games than they did last year, but I think people are kind of overestimating the losses of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. I think they just have a really, really good offense. Like, they have so many pieces. I don't think that all of a sudden Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and Jared Goff are just going to forget how to play football all of a sudden just because they don't have their OC.
They're stacked.
And yeah, they're stacked, and they did their due diligence of bringing in a new OC. And, he's coming from the Broncos, who he worked under Sean Payton, and I think they're going to be fine. Will they be as good as when they had Ben Johnson? Probably not, but I don't think the fall is going to be that crazy with how stacked they are. And also, I have a little stat here that I just want to read. So yes, they lost both OC and DC, but the Lions are the 6th team to lose both coordinators to head coaching positions in the same offseason since the 1970 NFL merger. All of the 5 other teams made the playoffs that season after losing those guys. Wow. And 2 of those teams actually made their conference championship. So I'm not that worried about the fall off. Jared Goff is underrated. This Lions defense was somehow really, really solid last year for most of the year. They allowed the 7th fewest points per game, and they had so many guys injured. They had, by the end of the year, they had 12 defensive players on IR. 12. Wow. Starting lineup is 11. They had 12 defense players on IR last year. Like, they're going to get back so many pieces. It's insane how hurt they were. I don't think, Aaron Glenn, it was a fine DC, but I don't think he's that massive of a loss. So yeah, I think the Lions are underrated.
Okay. Question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think, right, they make playoffs, do we think Dan Campbell is is, I don't want to say the problem, because I think he's a great coach. Do we think he gets in his own way or gets in the team's way?
I don't think anything was the issue with Dan Campbell.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I think last year the playoffs had to do with all their injuries. They just had to, every single week, they got more and more injuries on the defense. I think they just came to a point where it was too much to overcome. They came across a team and the Commanders that were very young and very, I mean, they surprised us all, right? Yeah. And they were much better. They kept getting better as the season went on. They snuck in as a 7th seed and they lost to them. But I don't think that's like some terrible loss. I think they were just kind of depleted. Anyways,
I like the pick. I just had to ask, I like the pick.
All right, that is it for our main discussion, but we are going to finish up today's episode with our 2-minute warning. And with our 2-minute warning, these last 2 minutes, we are going to predict our Super Bowl winners for the 2025 season. I'm going to give you the first pick. We don't know who each other are picking.
I love that you always give me the first choice.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to still pick the same one, even if you pick
sure?
mine. Yes.
Okay. I am okay. I have picked the back-to-back. I have picked the Eagles.
Wow.
I know. And a lot of people are like, meh, but
I mean, I think it's pretty crazy to pick back-to-back wins for the Eagles.
Listen, I like the Eagles. I do. Jalen playing really well. I like Jalen Hurts. I think the factor of like a running quarterback, I just think is like, it's just so great, and it's great to have. And I think it's just a weapon, right? And he won me my fantasy league, y'all. I love me some Saquon. Okay, I think he's gonna do just as well this year, as he did last year. So that's not changing, right? And then you've got the weapons, right, for Jalen to throw to. You've got A.J. Brown and Smith.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smith, Dallas Goedert, good weapons.
Dallas Goedert, right. So he has people to throw to. I think the thing about their team is the consistency with those solid, core players. I think they have a shot. To go back to back.
Defense is still super young.
And the defense is, quite frankly, elite. Mm-hmm. The defense is very good. And so I think they have a chance to do it all over again. It's going to depend on, who's on the other side of the field, and how they do in their schedule.
I will say it is hard for these teams to be concentrated enough to get back there, because it's like, okay, we hit it. But Jalen Hurts is totally the type of quarterback that's like, I don't care that I won one. Like, he's like already has that out of his head. He's right. Like, yeah. Right. So if there's any quarterback that's like not distracted by winning a Super Bowl, it is Jalen Hurts. Yeah. Now, this is the team I picked for the last 3 years to win a Super Bowl. And I could have been picking for every year in NFL history, and I still would not have been right. And it's the Buffalo Bills.
Of course it is. I knew it was.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen deserves a Super Bowl so much. He is so stinking good. He's so good in the playoffs too. It's always the defense that ends up failing. He's always on that bench while he's watching the defense come in. He almost lost the Ravens while watching his defense. I mean, Mark Andrews had to drop a 2-point conversion so they didn't tie it. Like, it's just, if the Bills can't at least make the Super Bowl this year and they disappoint Josh Allen again, and Sean McDermott's defense again is just a liability in the playoffs. They're not a liability in the regular season, but always in the playoffs, they're a liability. And I think Sean McDermott needs to go. That's what I think.
Okay.
But I think this is finally the year that Josh Allen gets to the Super Bowl and that the Bills and Buffalo finally get that trophy.
Okay. I mean, I'd love to see it. We both really like Josh Allen, but I don't know if they have it in them.
Well,
we're going to see.
I hope they do. I mean, that's really might be. I mean, I'm obviously rooting for the 49ers and maybe the Steelers. I haven't decided yet with my Aaron Rodgers hate, but we'll see there.
Sure.
But no, this will be really, really fun to be with you guys all season long. We're going to be talking through weekly matchups, our favorite bets. We'll be talking some fantasy, but just really talking about anything that you guys want to hear. So please leave us those reviews and we can hit on anything that you want us to discuss. Subscribe. Like I said, leave us a review, follow us on social. All of this will help us grow our podcast and be here for you every week. We'll be posting our episodes every Thursday morning, so don't miss that. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first episode of the Analyst in the Armchair. We'll talk to you next week. Bye, y'all.